Nobody is ever going to tell you. That's the whole problem. When someone decides they've had enough of you, they don't announce it. They don't argue, they just get busy. The invitations thin out, the replies slow down, and you end up holding a friendship that didn't end so much as evaporate. Here's what's actually happening. Every person you talk to is keeping what I call the quiet ledger, not on purpose. But every conversation lands as a small credit or a small debit, and when the balance tips, nobody confronts you. They just close the account. I'm going to give you the 10 habits that run up debt fastest and the exact line to say instead of each one. Some of these you'll admit to, at least 2 you'll swear you don't do. Welcome to Unspoken. From the outside, you look fine. Easy to be around, probably. You show up, you're interested in people, you're not the one making scenes at dinner. Nobody would ever call you difficult. But you've noticed something you can't say out loud. Group photos you weren't in, plans that formed without you and nobody meant anything by it. A friend who used to text back in 4 minutes and now takes a day, and the message is always warm, always a little shorter. The worst part isn't the loss, it's the not knowing. If someone disliked you, you'd at least have a reason, something to work with. But this is a verdict with no trial. Nobody's angry, there's nothing to apologize for. You've just been quietly filed under a lot and no one sent you the memo. So before anything else, here's one thing you can do tonight that costs you nothing. When someone finishes talking, don't respond. Count 3 seconds first. That's it, 3 seconds. It feels like an eternity the first time, and I promise it will feel rude, but watch what happens. About half the time they keep going. And the thing they say in that second half is the thing they actually wanted to say. The first part was them checking whether you'd let them finish. Most people never get to the second half. Not because anyone's cruel. Because we all reload while the other person is still talking, and the second they take a breath, we fire. 3 seconds, try it once this week. That's a patch though, it works, but it doesn't tell you what you're patching. I want to tell you about Marcus. Marcus and I were the kind of friends where Sunday was just assumed. There was no plan. You showed up at his place around noon, there was bad coffee, somebody's dog, an argument about a film nobody had finished. For about 3 years, that was my Sunday. Then it wasn't, nothing happened. No fight, no falling out, no dramatic text. The Sundays got occasional, then they got rare, and one day I did the math and realized it had been 5 months. So I asked him, sat across from him at a place with genuinely terrible coffee, and asked what I'd done. And he did what people do. He said, "Nothing, man, we've all just been busy." Which is the sentence people use when the real answer is too small to say out loud. He told me the real answer later. I'll come back to it. It's the last habit on this list, and it's the one I never saw coming. 2 things from the research explain why the ledger tips so fast. The first is a paper by Roy Baumeister with a title that saves you the trouble of reading it. Bad is stronger than good. Across every domain they looked at, relationships, money, memory, first impressions, negative events hit harder and stay longer than positive ones of the same size. So a good conversation doesn't cancel a bad one, it takes several. The ledger isn't balanced. It's weighted, and it's weighted against you. The second is a study by Erica Boothby and her colleagues on something they called the liking gap. After a conversation, people consistently underestimate how much the other person liked them. Consistently. Which sounds like good news, and it is, except it also means your internal read on how you're doing is broken in both directions. You can't read your own quiet ledger. That's why this list has to be behavioral instead of emotional. Number 1, the opening complaints. You meet someone and the first thing out of your mouth is what's wrong. Traffic, your back, the state of things, it's not even complaining really. It's just what was on top of the pile. But you've handed them a mood before they got to pick their own. Do that enough and their body starts bracing before you speak. The fix isn't fake positivity, it's just leading with anything else. You look like your week went better than mine, what happened? Now they set the tone, you still get to complain, 90 seconds later. That one's easy to admit, this next one less so. Number 2 is the one-up. Someone tells you their flight got canceled and something helpful lights up in your brain because you had a flight canceled once and yours was worse. So you tell them, not to compete, to connect. That is genuinely what you think you're doing. Here's what it feels like from where they're sitting. They handed you a story and you handed it back with your name on it. The second their thing became the setup for your thing, their thing stopped existing. You don't have to go silent, just delay. Ask one more question about theirs before you spend yours. Wait, how long were you stuck there? Their story gets a life, yours still gets told. The next one is the same instinct in a nicer coat. Number 3, the Fix-It Reflex. Someone tells you something painful and within about 8 seconds you're solving it. Have you tried? What if you? My cousin had that and what he did was. And you're being helpful, that's the cruel part. Nobody who does this is being unkind. But you've done something specific. You converted a feeling into a task. Now they have homework, you have a solution, and neither of you actually met. One sentence fixes it. Ask out loud, do you want me to help with this or do you want me to be annoyed about it with you? People will tell you they're usually relieved somebody asked. Number 4 is smaller and somehow worse. Number 4, the Correction Tic. It was Tuesday, not Wednesday. It was his brother, not his cousin. Actually, it's pronounced. None of it matters, you know none of it matters. You do it anyway because there's a small, clean pleasure in being accurate. What you're teaching them is that talking to you comes with a proofreader, so they start editing before they speak, and eventually it's easier not to. Let it be Wednesday, let it be his cousin. Nobody died. Number 5's the loop. You have a story, it's a good story. It got a laugh once or it explains something important about you, and you've told it to this person twice, possibly 4 times. Or it isn't a story, it's a grievance. The same job, the same ex, the same thing your mother said at that wedding. Here's the cost. When you loop, you leave them nowhere to stand. They can't respond to it, they've already responded to it. All they can do is nod and wait, and nobody enjoys being an audience for a rerun. If you're not sure whether you've told someone something, just ask, have I already told you this one? It's disarming, and it buys you the right to tell it again. Those first 5 are the ones you'd own up to. A friend sits you down, you wince, you recognize yourself, you fix it. The next 5 don't work like that. These are the ones people are certain aren't them. And the habits that cost you the most are always the ones you're most certain you don't have. Listen to that again. Number 6, the interrogation. You're a good listener, everyone says so. You ask questions, you remember details, you never make it about you. Where'd you grow up? How's the new job? How's your mom doing? An hour goes by and they know nothing about you. You think this is generosity. What it reads as is a locked door with a very polite doorman. Closeness doesn't get built by extraction. It gets built by trade. Every question you ask without offering anything back tilts the thing further, and after a while people can feel that they've been paying and you haven't. So answer your own questions sometimes. My mom's driving me insane, actually. How's yours? That's not oversharing, that's a receipt. Number 7, the flat congratulations. Someone tells you good news, you say nice congrats, and you mean it. You genuinely do. Shelley Gable and her colleagues ran a set of studies on this exact moment. What happens when somebody brings you good news and the finding isn't intuitive? How you respond when things go well for someone predicts the health of that relationship better than how you respond when things go badly. Everyone shows up for the funeral. Almost nobody shows up for the promotion. Nice congrats isn't a wrong answer. It's a closed one. It ends the conversation at the exact moment they wanted it to keep going. Ask for the detail instead. Wait, when did you find out? Who did you call first? Watch their face when you ask who they called first. Number 8. The Reassurance Toll. God, I look terrible today. I'm probably talking too much. Sorry, I'm being annoying. Each one is small, each one is honest, and each one hands the other person a job. Because now they can't just be with you, they have to manage you. They have to say no you're not, no you don't, no you're fine, and they'll do it cheerfully the first 40 times. Somewhere around the 41st, it starts to feel like unpaid work. You don't have to fake confidence, just stop leaving the door open behind the sentence. Say the awkward thing without the hook on the end, I'm nervous about this, full stop. No question mark hiding at the end of it. Number 9 is one nobody has ever named out loud to me. Number 9, the conversation with no exit. You're not boring, you're not rude, you just don't have landing gears. Every goodbye turns into one more thing. They stand up, you start a new topic. They reach for their keys, you remember something. You walk them to the car and keep talking through the window while the engine runs. And here's what happens next, which you will never see. They stop starting conversations with you, not because the conversation is bad, because they can't predict when it ends, and an interaction with no visible exit is something people quietly schedule around. Give people the door, I'll let you go, one last thing and then I'm done, and then be done. Now number 10. Number 10, the missed bid. John Gottman spent years watching couples in a lab, and the thing he ended up caring about most wasn't the arguments. It was the tiny stuff. Someone looks out the window and says, "Huh, weird bird, that isn't small talk." Gottman called it a bid, a little request for attention dressed up as nothing. You can turn toward it or you can turn away. Couples still together 6 years later turn toward those bids about 86% of the time. The ones who split, 33%. That's couples, but the mechanism doesn't care what the relationship is called. Every look at this, every photo sent with no caption, every "so I had a weird day," those are bids, and man lol and haha nice are all ways of turning away while looking like you didn't. Nobody notices one missed bid. Everybody feels 400 of them. Stop for a second and do this properly. Think of one specific person, not a category, a name. Someone who used to be closer than they are now and you never found out why. Now go back through the 10 and pick the one you'd be least comfortable being accused of. That's usually the one. I know that's not a fun rule. It's held up every time I've tested it on myself. Now here's the part I actually want you to take with you. Look at what those 10 have in common. The one-up, the fixing, the questions, the reassurance, the conversation that won't end. Almost none of them come from not caring. They come from caring badly. They're what trying too hard looks like from the outside. You top their story because you want them to know you understand. You solve their problem because you want to be useful. You ask 40 questions because you're frightened of taking up space. You can't end the conversation because you don't want them to leave. Cold people don't do this. Cold people are easy to be around actually. They take up almost no room. This entire list is a disease of effort. Which is good news structurally because effort is the hard part and you already have it. You're not learning how to care. You're learning to point the care outward instead of using it to prove you're worth keeping. The line I'd put on the wall if I had to pick one: nobody drifts away because you were too much. They drift because there was nowhere in the conversation to put themselves. So one tool, not 10, one. It's called the ledger check, and it's a single question you ask yourself after a conversation, ideally while you're still walking to your car. Did that person leave with more than they came with or less? That's the whole tool, and it's uncomfortable on purpose because you can't answer it with your intentions. You can only answer it with what actually happened in the last 20 minutes. 3 things make the answer come out right more often than not. 1. Take the bid before you take the floor. Whatever they just offered, the photo, the weird bird, the half sentence, go there first. 2. Let their story finish and then die of natural causes. Don't graft yours onto the end of it. 3. Ask one more question than feels necessary. 1. The second question is where people find out you were actually listening. That's the system. Marcus. He told me at the door on the way out the way people tell you the real thing. Sideways with their coat half on. He said when my dad was in the hospital, I sent you that photo. Him holding the TV remote upside down, trying to change the channel on the blood pressure machine. I remembered it, it was funny, I remembered laughing. He said you wrote lol. That's it, that's the whole crime. His dad was dying and he found something funny in it anyway, and he sent it to me because I was the person he sent things to. And I gave him 3 letters. He wasn't angry, he'd never been angry, he just stopped sending things. I still catch myself doing it, I'd love to tell you I fixed it. What actually happened is I got faster at noticing, sometimes in the moment, usually about an hour later in the car. That's not nothing, an hour is better than 5 months. Because that's really what this is, not becoming likable. Just becoming someone whose attention actually arrives while the other person is still standing there. So which of the 10 landed? And be honest, which one would your closest friend pick for you? Those are almost never the same number, and the gap between them is the interesting part. Tell me below. If this was useful, subscribe. There's more of it here and I'd like you around. I'll see you in the next one.